Welcome to the Freedom to Roam podcast, the show that helps you break through the barriers that hold you back from exploring the world. I'm Ken Edmonds, and whether you're facing physical challenges, financial limits, logistical issues, or fear of the unknown, this podcast is here to inspire, inform, and empower you to discover the adventures that await you. Let's get started. And I created this podcast because one of the things that I run into when I talk to people about travel is a lot of people have different reasons that they don't travel. Fear is one of them, and we're going to talk about fear today. But the reason that I think travel is important, it comes from a quote I love, says that the world is a book, and those that don't travel read only one page. And just like reading a single page of a book is not very satisfying, a life that doesn't involve at least some travel is less satisfying than it really could be. When we travel, we get to know other peoples, other places, other cultures, and it just broadens out our horizon. My wife and I are, you could say, pretty intrepid travelers. So we've been pretty much around the world. We've traveled with a small child. We've traveled in a lot of different ways in different places. We've taken train rides in Mexico and just taking the local train to go somewhere. We've gone on cruises. We've been to all-inclusive resorts. So we travel a lot. And I wanted to share with you some of the reasons that we've been able to travel, how we've overcome some of the times we've had fear about different situations. On the show, you can expect a variety of different pieces of information. Sometimes it'll be me talking about subjects. Sometimes it'll be me interviewing a guest. I should say videos and audios, some podcasts from guests that they may create. And our goal is to make sure that everyone, and it doesn't really matter what your challenges are, I believe that everyone. And so my goal is to share information that'll help you do that. My wife and I have been traveling together for more than 45 years. Before that, I traveled a lot by myself. I was in the military and traveled quite a bit around the world. And so I've had these opportunities to go and do, and my wife and I have had opportunities to go and see. And like I said, there's been times we've had some challenges and maybe even a little bit of fear. I'll talk about that on our podcasts. And as I mentioned, we're going to talk about fears as being the first of the challenges, because one of the big things that most people are afraid of is the unknown. And so if you don't know what to expect, it can be concerning and can make you be reluctant to go somewhere and do that. I've had friends that bragged about never having left the state they were in, and they were really proud about that fact. They were born in the state, and they never left the state. And my feeling is that it's just so bad that they didn't have the determination to go out beyond the boundaries of the state they lived in and see what else was in the world. Now, our world is filled with wonder and things that are awe-inspiring. But for most of them, if you want to really experience them, you need to go and see them. And it doesn't really matter what your barrier is to doing this. In most cases, you'll be able to find a way to make it happen. Can't say everybody, because I'm sure there's a circumstance I can't think of right now that would prevent somebody from ever traveling. But I've interviewed people that had very difficult circumstances, and it's been amazing the things that they've gone and done. And I'll share those interviews in this podcast. I'll share a little bit with you about some of the things that caused my wife and I a little bit of fear about traveling. For a long time, we were both really healthy, and then my wife developed some health problems and required surgery on her back. And after the back surgery, it was a real question about how well she'd recover and whether she'd ever feel like enjoying, or whether she'd ever enjoy travel or feel like traveling again. Now, she recovered fine, and she started traveling using a wheelchair, which meant that we had to adjust. We had to learn to find information about that. And sometimes finding information can be hard. That's part of the reason I share information, so that other people can find the answers that they look for and things that'll help. We've had times when financial barriers made it very difficult to travel. And for us, it just meant that we had to adjust how we traveled. And I have some, along the way, I'll have some interesting travel stories I'll share with you about the adventures my wife and I have been on and things that we've run into. As we overcame our fears, we managed to have some amazing adventures. And like I said, I'll share some of those with you. When it came to my wife's traveling with a wheelchair, a big thing was finding out information about the destinations. And sometimes that's hard because sometimes it just seems like nobody wants to share that information. Now, for every place we've ever been, I'll share information about what we did, how we enjoyed it, as we talk about our travels. And I can share with you how to find information for yourselves. And I'll do that. Some of the podcasts will be, you could say, basically training on how to plan for and overcome the obstacles that face you. I would say this, that when we think about practical tips for overcoming fears, it starts with knowledge. Most of us are afraid of the unknown. And so the more information we can find about a destination or a mode of travel, what we'll find is that then we have less reason to fear, and the fear becomes manageable. I won't say that there'll never be a reason you wouldn't have some fear, but it'll become manageable where you can travel. Sometimes, like I said, we'll talk about a lot of other things that may get in the way, but like I said, fear is the one that we'll start with. And it is acquiring knowledge about what to expect that starts to help you overcome fear. And one suggestion I would make is start small. You don't have to have a world trip to start traveling. You can start by, if you're one that's never traveled outside your state, try going to a neighboring state just to see what it's like. If you live in the United States, you're going from one state to another, you don't need a passport. You probably don't need a lot of money, just money for gas in your gas tank. And even if you just made a day trip. But the goal is to figure out how to start making trips and start doing some travel. And when you're going to make a trip, again, if we're trying to overcome our fear, learn as much about it as you can, whether it's how to drive, if you're driving a car, or learn about the customs if you think customs are going to be very different. And I'll say this, that in the United States, customs are different from one spot to another. Not as different as traveling to other countries, but if you're from the Northeast and you go to the deep South, things are different. You come from out west to the East Coast, things are different, but not that different. Not enough different that there's any reason to fear it. But think about it, say, what would I really like? Where do I really want to go? And then start doing the research so that you know what you might encounter, what might be there for you that might affect your enjoyment of the trip or your ability to accomplish it. There's a couple other things that I would suggest. One of them is joining a travel group. And I have a travel group that's called Senior Journeys. And it's not just for seniors, because most seniors travel with people that are not seniors, so it's really designed to be it's a Facebook group, and it's a community where people share information about travel. It's one of those places you can go and ask questions if there's things that you're worried about or concerned about. And like I said, Cheryl and I go and do a lot of things just so that we can share. And it's once you control those fears and once you're able to make these journeys, it's what really starts to expand your horizon. You see that in general, people have more in common than they have that separate them apart. You get to see the world as an amazing place. And my wife and I have seen things that are just mind-boggling beautiful. And that's part of why we go places. There's some places we go to over and over again because we like them. But we like to go to new places and meet new peoples and try new foods. All of those kinds of things. So I would encourage you to think about things that are getting your way when we're talking about travel. What is it that holds you back from being able to go more places and do more things? And if it's fear, like I said, we can help you overcome the fear piece of it. But there are other things that will get in the way. Maybe it's money. And that's just a planning thing. You got to, if you want to go somewhere, you just have to plan for it. You may not be able to go take an around the world cruise tomorrow. Your bank account might not like that. But if you wanted to take an amount around the world cruise, there's ways to do it and steps you could take now to start preparing for it. Do me a favor down in the comments if there's a subject you'd like me to cover when we're talking about freedom to roam and the ability to go and do things. Please just go ahead and put that information in the comments, or you can email me. And what I'll do is I will try to find the answers for you. In the comments, you'll find the links to my senior travel group and also to a group for people that travel with disabilities, because those are some of the bigger challenges maybe for people. So I have special groups for that, but you're free to join the Freedom to Roam group. And if you're a senior, you want to join senior travel, or if you have a disability and you want to travel, join the Traveling with a Chair and Other Disabilities Facebook groups. So there'll be links to all of them in the description. So that way you'll have the opportunity to connect with people that may help you find the answers you're looking for. And if you want to chat about where you'd like to go, you'll find a link there that'll schedule some time with me. It's free. I'm always glad to talk to people, see what I can do to help them find the solution to the things that hold them back. You would do me a favor, though. First of all, if you think channel is for you and it's going to have information that you might enjoy, you'll want to subscribe to it. The next thing is you may know somebody that would benefit from this channel or would enjoy it. Please do me a favor and share the channel with them. You can just send them a text message with a link to the channel. Tell them you found it and you thought it would be something they liked. I'd love it if you do that, and they'll appreciate you caring enough about them to do so. Our next episode, I'm going to talk about the various forms of travel and what we think and what we've found to be, for us, some of the easiest. Like I said, my wife has mobility challenges. She has a bad back. It hurts when she travels too long. But we found solutions to it. So we'll talk about those solutions, and we'll look for ways and I'll try to share other information next week that you'll find helpful. Thanks for listening to the Freedom to Roam podcast. Do you have a travel challenge you'd like us to cover? Drop a comment below or reach out directly. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you enjoyed the show, share it with a friend. Ready to plan your next trip? Schedule a chat with me using the link below. Until next time, keep exploring and break free from whatever holds you back.